morning. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for the opportunity to make this presentation. My name is and for several years I have been focusing on the relationship between music and body movement in the context of Émile Jaques-Dalcroze's Rhythmics. In this presentation, I would like to draw attention to the problem of the exclusion of rhythmicians as innovators within the art of dance. The plan of the presentation is as follows. Firstly, I will briefly explain selected elements of Mieczysław Tomaszewski's concept, the nodal points of an artist's life, to present Émile Jaques-Dalcroze's portrait as an artist. Then I will briefly cover the major principles that underpin the rhythmics. After that, I will turn to selected aspects of classic anime. To conclude, I will briefly present my findings. In order to present the biography of Émile Jaques-Dalcroze, I used the invariant model of the Polish musicologist Mieczysław Tomaszewski's The Nodal Points of an Artist's Life. Regrettably, I won't have the opportunity to discuss Mieczysław Tomaszewski's invariant model during my presentation today. I have included the most important information on the slide. This invariant model enables the presentation of time segments in a chronological cross-sections with a specific weight and quality, which constitute an important background for the composer's creative and artistic activity. Viewing an artistic career from its nodal points helps the interpreter form a deeper understanding of the character, aim, and meaning of the creative process as it evolves in relationship to both the life and the art. Émile Jaques-Dalcroze was the creator of Eurhythmics, a concept of musical education, as well as a pianist, composer, conductor, pedagogue, music writer, and social activist. Of particular importance from the perspective of this paper is the storm and stress moment. As a teacher of music history and harmony at the Geneva Conservatoire, Jaques-Dalcroze drew attention to students' perceptual problems, which he captured in these words. When, after several lessons, I noticed that students couldn't hear the chords they were writing down, I concluded that the flaw in the conventional teaching method was that they didn't experience the emotions arising from harmonic progressions, which is a direct consequence of the initial stage of music education. When the brain and the body are developed simultaneously, they influence each other. In traditional teaching, the emphasis is placed on experiencing music only after completing rhythmic exercises. For this reason, I decided to proceed theoretical considerations with physical activity to develop the student's capacity for feelings. End of quote. Dalcroze argued that valuable teaching should be based on the multisensory transfer of knowledge and skills, as well as the intellectual and emotional engagement of students in auditory, visual, spatial motor, and vocal activities. His conclusions led to the development of rhythmics, a concept of music education centered on the holistic experience of art and the creative integration of theory into practice. The concept of musical education consists of four closely related aspects: rhythmic, plastic anime, solfège, and improvisation. When describing it, Jaques-Dalcroze used the term rhythmic gymnastics, rhythmic solfège, and corporeal solfège. He also used the terms system, method, or methods. Jaques-Dalcroze argued that rhythmic gymnastics is above all a matter of personal experience. What does it involve? Where does it lead? Answering these questions is impossible without experiencing it. End of quote. Mori Larer-Bachmann raises a question. Can the term method even be used for a way of thinking that doesn't so much define a path as provide the tools for following it? Whether the path may be. That's our mask. Thank you.
Je ne vais pas faire de chiffres, ça veut dire que vous avancez, vous allez simplement marcher sur l'escalier, et quand vous en avez un petit triolet, c'est-à-dire 38 km, vous arrêtez. Allez, montez sur l'escalier.
Jaques-Dalcroze saw himself as offering teachers and students a guide they can use as they saw it. He encouraged the creation and use of individual, original ideas and exercises that would complement or replace those he himself had initiated. End of quote. Please note that, according to Carlos Abril, a method refers to a set of detailed, sequential, and deliberate steps planned, systematized, prescribed, or applied to achieve specific learning objectives. It focuses on what to teach, how to teach it, and when to teach it. It can mean a codified system of teaching and learning that has been described in detail and practiced by many teachers, like Kodai, or a deliberate pattern of behavior used by a teacher that aims to guide students from one point to another in short, on or long term. Because Jaques-Dalcroze didn't provide teachers with instructions on how to create and present exercises or improvisation, he left the door open for the development of diverse teaching methods and the application of his ideas. End of quote. It is also worth mentioning the research conducted by Joachim Gobert, who, based on the extensive documentation and surveys conducted among teachers, concluded that rhythmics owes its popularity primarily to the personality of Jaques-Dalcroze. The researcher confirms that exercises published in Rhythmische Gymnastik in 1906 and Die Rhythmik 1 and 2 in 1916 to 1917, quote, do not constitute a coherent theory, nor can they provide a sufficient guide for teachers, instructors. Instructors trained by Dalcroze, especially in Germany, reconfigured the adapted system themselves and were guided by the idea of rhythm instilled in them during courses and collaborative work, rather than using codified and uniform curriculum. End of quote. Researchers propose replacing the term method with another one, such as an approach or concept of music education. Let's return for a moment to the nodal points of an artist's life. On October 29, 1909, after a demonstration of Eurhythmics in Dresden, Wolf Dohrn invited Jaques-Dalcroze to Hellerau, where together with his brother Harold, he presented a project for an institution whose ideas was consistent with the ethical and social reform of life at the time. They intended to create a place where a sense of order and harmony would re-establish itself in a human life. In Tomaszewski's method, this moment is thus linked to a significant encounter with another artist or a pedagogue. As a result, the Bildungsanstalt für Musik und Rhythmus was established in Hellerau and became a center of artistic culture and the leading training for rhythm teachers in Europe and worldwide. According to Małgorzata Lejko, the conditions created enabled a work-life ranging perform including the redefinition of principles conducive to the healing of social relations. The history of rhythmic gymnastic might have taken a completely different turn if not the artistic collaboration between Jaques-Dalcroze and Adolphe Appia, a Swiss musician, a designer, and one of the leading theoreticians of 20th century theatre. Their significant meeting took place in May 1906 in Geneva during a rhythmic gymnastic demonstration. Agnieszka Bidasz points out that Appia wrote in a letter to Dalcroze that he experienced an epiphany. He saw on stage echoes on the Wagnerian idea of the rebirth of music through the externalization of the basis of all human art, which was musical rhythm expressed in the plastic movement of the body. End of quote. The collaboration of these two outstanding artists led to the creation of stage masterpieces such as Echo and Narcissus, Orpheus and Eurydice, and June Festival. Jaques-Dalcroze and Appia aimed for a complete transposition of the music, visual form, which according to Jan Kosiński, shifts the focus towards choreography, revolutionized by Isadora Duncan's liberated dance. The recording shows a fragment of Isadora Bless' dance in a close relationship between music and movement. In the context of the relationship between music and movement, Jaques-Dalcroze claimed that this famous dance reviver was magnificent when it came to the art of experiencing feelings. But since she was unfortunately not a musician, even the most evocative classical or modern music was merely an accompaniment for her. End of quote. The creator of Eurhythmics distanced himself from the overwhelming pursuit of artistic expression and an excessive emotionality. He sought stage movement that wouldn't be an end in itself, but so subordinated and so derived from the music that body becomes visible sound. He never intended movement to become an art form in its own right. Janina Gerhard-Kunicka, referring to plastic anime, stated that it cannot exist without Eurhythmics because then it loses its proper character and it becomes a liberated dance. Unfortunately, we don't have a film documentation of Jaques-Dalcroze's stage works. We only have photographs which, compared to Isadora Bless' photographs, appeared to be identical. The artistic projects Dalcroze implemented at Hellerau significantly influenced the development of 20th century dance and theatre, including contemporary dance in its broadest sense, dance theatre, acting, and the architectural and visual design of theatre performances. It is worth highlighting the significant achievements of his students. Stanisław Głowacki became a pioneer of movement gymnastics and kinematography in Poland. Marie Rambert founded the oldest continuously operating ballet company in England. Hania Holm laid the foundations for American modern dance. Rosalia Kladek is considered one of the most important representatives of this form of artistic expression. The creation and development of German expressive dance, Ausdrucktanz, is due to Mary Wigman, considered one of the most outstanding artists of European modern dance. The recording features a fragment of Hexentanz, which Dalcroze opposed, claiming it was too emotional and that the movement redefined the music. Unfortunately, in the light of the dynamic development of dance, theater, and the performing arts, contemporary works in the field of plastic anime may seem like relics of the past. According to the report on the state of dance in Poland 2025, a study on the presence of dance in the media and public discourse, as well as the sponsorship potential of Polish dance, historical dances no longer practiced were excluded, including liberated, expressive, and plastic anime practiced only by a small group of rhythmicians. A dismissive attitude prevails among artistic directors, choreographers, dancers, and dance educators. Critical assessments focus on the low level of performance and artistic expression, the lack of a solid foundation of choreographic strategies, the excessive and, in the opinion of many, unnecessary emphasis on the close relationship between music and movement. But Karen Greenhead clearly pointed out that as early as in 1912, Dalcroze himself spoke of the expressive art of movement in silence or in dialogue with music. This kind of creative freedom could positively impact the development of the inner energy and drama of musical and movement expressions. Agnieszka Nowak-Zych confirms that in Poland, rhythmics is associated primarily with kindergarten, which Barbara Dudkiewicz commented on with these words. On the one hand, it's our great achievement, and on the other, unfortunately, a cliché that closes off the path to the world of art in the public consciousness. End of quote. Rhythmic artists are also criticized for lacking terminological order, knowledge of the life and work of Jaques-Dalcroze, and the history of rhythm and in Poland and worldwide. Another problem is the lack of adequate methods for describing artistic works and knowledge of dance notation systems. Stage creations should address the needs and add value to the lives of contemporary spectators, which is impossible if we continue to imitate works from the early 20th century, and fail to incorporate training in classical and contemporary dance techniques and movement improvisation into our daily practice. Understanding the specific nature of the artistic disciplines we are drawing upon is also crucial. Rhythmics should engage in dialogue with the auditions of music, dance, and theater, as well as artists and performers. It seems that contemporary rhythmics requires rethinking and redefining, as well as a deeper reflection of our identity as a community. Rhythmics is primarily a pedagogical discipline, not an artistic one. Therefore, we need strong representation at multiple levels: pedagogical, research, and artistic. This unfortunately leads to the need for specialization in specific elements of the concept of music education, rhythmics, improvisation, and plastic anime, rather than the assumption that rhythmicists must be proficient in all of these aspects. I hope that the issue I raised concerning the relationship between music and dance art will open up possibilities for a joint discussion. I'm very curious about your opinions as distinguished creators and researchers of art. I would like to thank you for your attention and extend you an invitation to the performance, which will be held at 4:30 tomorrow at the concert hall. Thank you.